Today we're going to talk to a guy who needed a bachelor's degree, but he had no scholarships or tuition assistance to pay for it, so he went about it in a very unusual way, and it only took him 13 weeks. Tyler is an airman who wanted to get another bachelor's degree, but this time in business. And to save money and time, he went to University of Maine at Presque Isle, where, notoriously, you can try to take as many courses as possible in an 8-week term that only costs $1,400. And you want to know how many credits he earned in those 8 weeks? 33. Guys, the average is like 6. But before I give everything away, let me go ahead and present to you my interview with Tyler. And if you want help doing similar things, graduating college for under $10,000, graduating in under a year, saving tens of thousands of dollars, sign up for a consultation with me at the link in the description. Without further ado, the interview.
What's the career goal that caused you to go to UMPI?
Sure. So, I've had a lot of college experience throughout my life. I have somewhere with the 33 credit hours I just completed, I have somewhere in the area of 300 credit hours completed. But my goal now is to get a commission with the United States Air Force. So my previous experience with college didn't really contribute to that end. So I was looking for a little bit more managerial experience, and I did a lot of research and settled on UMPI because of their, a competency-based program, which allowed me to, use some of the skills that I already collected throughout my life experience and sort of combine that all into one tight little package that I could just push myself through. So I didn't have any scholarships or anything like that. And so that was another contributing factor. I had to pay for this all out of pocket. And so I was really motivated to complete it all in one session if I could.
Yeah, because UMPI costs like $1,400 for an 8-week term. And so if you can get everything done right away, that's as much as you pay.
Yeah, exactly. So it really lowered my, cost per credit significantly. And that's, I had never had any experience with a competency-based program before, but I will say I can't find any real, deficiency as opposed to the traditional method. If anything, I would say that it was more beneficial because I'm the type of person that, if I have a class that I have to go to every day, I'll perform better. Whereas if I have one that's only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 times a week, that gives me 5 days on the weekend to forget everything I learned from from Thursday to Tuesday. So it kind of helped out in terms of me keeping track of stuff.
Let's get into the really important, really interesting part here. 33 credits at UMPI in 8 weeks, 11 classes. Now, for those of you guys who are watching and who might not know, UMPI has courses that are competency-based, where you go in and you go through the textbook, you go through the videos, lectures, whatever they might have to teach you the stuff. You might answer some questions along the way that are like knowledge checks, and eventually you do a final assignment that tests your mastery of the subject. And depending on how you score on that, you either pass or fail the course. Now, obviously, if you had failed one of these, you would have had to wait till the next term. So I'm sure there was a little bit of pressure to like make sure you got it right the first time. But how in the world did you do 11 in, what would that be? That'd be 56 days. That's one every 5 days.
So there was a course I took, and it was really early on, and it talked about, making your goals by the SMART acronym, which is, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So, I had my overarching objective, right? And so as I'm going, it's not like one of those things where I'm like just crushing it every day and it's the only thing I'm doing. So, I would set myself a small goal. Like, for example, you talked about the milestones. I would say, okay, I need to complete 2 milestones in this sitting. And so I would sit and read the course material or watch the videos or whatever that it was that they needed me to do. And then I answer the milestone questions. And typically the milestones contributed to the final project if there's a project or a paper or something like that. So it really helps you organize your thoughts. And so as I'm going through, I might make an outline. I did this for several classes as I was going, to say, hey, okay, let me see what the rubric says for the final project. And as I'm going, I'm going to create my outline and pair that up with the course material and have it in an order that makes sense to me. So, I would give myself like a couple days to get through the course material, another day to, complete the final project, and then I might take a day off and I would just repeat the whole cycle.
Wow. And I know that UMPI will let students submit a draft of their final assignment before they submit the actual version. Did you skip the draft, or did you usually submit the draft, wait for feedback, and then submit?
No, I use the draft every single time. And I
Okay,
think that it's
smart.
really important for students to use the drafts. You get a lot of valuable feedback. And if you don't use the draft, whatever your final assessment is graded is your final grade. And so sometimes I would submit a draft and, it wasn't always right on the mark. There were sometimes that I would get the draft back and there would be a grading criteria, and some of the categories I might miss by, 50% or something.
Mm.
And that wasn't, I was really shooting for the best grade I can get to give myself the best chance at a commission. So really, I highly recommend the drafts. And in the meantime, after you submit your draft, you can contact your academic counselor and request another class. And I did that routinely. I actually traveled a
Mm.
lot during this too. So um,
And you were
I would,
working full time, right?
right, yeah, actually,
Yeah.
for towards the end of it, I had to go on a quick deployment. So I downloaded or copied a lot of the course material into a Word document, and I had loaded it up on my iPad, and I was like, on my way to wherever I was going, and I would just read through my material on my iPad. Whenever I landed, I would type in my milestone achievements and have half of the coursework done by the time I got there.
That's awesome. Do you feel like after this whole process of blitzing through these courses, how much do you feel like you learned from the experience?
A ton. My problem with the traditional way of doing things is that, it's like one course might take you 4 months to complete. So I'm starting my master's degree right now, and I have a prerequisite course that I have to do before I can actually really get into it. So
Yeah.
it's only one course, and it's a 4-month course. I'm now 2 months into it, but I'm already forgetting the things that I learned on the first week, and so I'm really the type of person that has to do something every day in order to really hammer it home, to make sure I'm learning the material.
Mm.
But I would say a lot of the stuff that I learned at UMPI, as far as the business aspect goes, I remember a ton of that stuff. And it's if I can utilize it in my daily life, like I talked about the SMART example, then it just goes even farther. So I try to use
Yeah.
those things after I've learned them.
For other people out there watching who are thinking about going to UMPI or thinking about doing school in general, do you have any advice for them as to like how to go about it in a way that gets it done quickly?
I liken this process to a little bit like going to the gym. The hardest part is getting in the car and driving there. So to me, the hardest part was actually enrolling. And so once I had enrolled, I was committed, right? So, and I had been talking about going back to school to get another degree for years. Like I said, I graduated with my old degree over 10 years ago. So, pretty much since I joined the Air Force, I've been talking about, hey, I need to go back to school. I need to get another degree. I need to get something that's more relevant. And the only thing that got me actually studying and doing the courses was enrolling. And once I enrolled, that was it. I was past the point of no return at that point. So, it was a little easier to follow through.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, hey, Tyler, thanks so much for being on the channel and for sharing your story. I know that a ton of people are going to be really excited to hear this and to learn from it. So really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Okay, I don't know if you missed that, but there were a few things that I want to highlight that Tyler said. Number one, everybody learns differently, and so he actually found that by cramming everything together into 8 weeks, he was able to make connections and really get things to stick inside his head. Number two, if you're going to UMPI, use the draft function, that opportunity to submit a pre-version of your final assessment every single time so you get feedback. No cockiness here. Number three, if you have a goal, don't let anything stop you. It's very easy to say, wow, I'm so busy, or I'm so tired, or I'm so bored. But this guy was downloading course content and reading it on airplanes like that. He really wanted it. And number four, a really good way to make sure you do this thing is to commit to it and to start taking steps forward. You haven't really committed to doing something until you've started doing it. So if college is something that you're interested in doing, start going to college. And if you're looking for help with that, my link is in the description. Set up a consultation with me, and in just 45 minutes, we'll save you $20,000 to $30,000 and 2 to 3 years off of your degree. Thanks for watching, everybody, and happy hacking.